Listening Library presents Vesuvius by Biehn. Read for you by Amin Gamal and Max Meyers, with a note read by the author.
I loved you, so I wrote you into my mythology, the creation and breaking and revision of me. Author's note. Vesuvius was born in the summer of 2020 when the world had shut down but suffering had escalated. I was angry, I was isolated, and I was scared. So I did what I'd always done, what my blood and bones know to do. I wrote what I needed to read. I needed a book about two queer kids changing their fate. I needed a book to show that while trauma molds us, it does not define us. I needed a book about facing down the end of the world, a swallowing dark wave, and saying no. Though heavily researched, I'm the first to admit that Vesuvius takes some creative liberties with history. But one thing will forever be true. Queer people existed in ancient times as they exist today. Young people like Felix and Lauren lived and loved then as they do now, and my hope is that you, the reader, can see yourself or a friend in their story. At the time Vesuvius goes to print, we're on the precipice of great global change. From a rise in banned books to politicians challenging our right to exist and to love and to have autonomy over our own bodies, it's probable that scary times are ahead, especially for those most vulnerable in our communities. But I think now, more than ever, it's heartening to look back at how queer people have always existed throughout history, even in the face of insurmountable odds. Queerness is beautiful, diverse, and most importantly, resilient. When we stick together and find community, our stories will never be lost. Just like Felix and Lauren and Vesuvius, we're here, we're facing down the dark wave, and we're saying no.
Chapter 1. Felix. Felix robbed the temple of Apollo just before dawn. Temples were embarrassingly easy. Bolts of fine fabrics, sacks of coins, baskets of cherries left to rot. Any thief worth his salt knew it was fair game. Nothing fun about it. So unchallenging, in fact, that the afternoon prior, following a quick scout, Felix almost looked the other way. Moved on. Until he spotted Apollo's treasure. A shiny silver helmet unguarded on a plinth, and begging to wear Felix's fingerprints all over it. A feeling far stronger than want sparked in his gut, a magnetic pull to an item that'd buy him a damn palace if he rolled his dice right. No question about it. Felix would own the helmet. At a tavern, he challenged the temple's guard to a drinking game until the man slipped into a wine-thick slumber. After, edging daybreak, Felix crept into the temple, snagged the helmet, and strolled out. Too easy. In retrospect, he should have realized much sooner that he was being followed. 2 streets from the Forum, muffled footsteps fell in sync with his. Fine, Felix could shake them. He picked up the pace. When the soft schnick of a gladius drawn from its sheath split the night air, he moved a little faster. Felix had spent less than a day in Pompeii, but like any good Roman town, it was laid out in a grid. It didn't matter if he took 2 detours or 10, the side streets would spit him out onto the main road eventually. His sandals slapped against uneven cobblestones. Novice move. Every thief knew the best work was accomplished barefoot, in silence. But this was supposed to be an easy job. In, out, on the road. Let the city lament its stolen treasure when Felix was already halfway to Herculaneum. Screw it. Ducking into an alley, Felix spared half a second to kick off his sandals. His only pair, but not worth more than his hands. Or his neck. Once he'd sold the silver, he'd replace them. That was the elegance of rejecting sentimentality. If you never got attached, losing things was just that. Simple. Cradling the helmet under his arm, Felix set off again, footfalls, whisper quiet. His plan should have worked. He'd pulled off trickier heists with far more to lose. Like the other week when he stole 6 bottles of top-shelf wine from the luscious vineyard south of the city. Felix had made a decent profit hawking them in Salernum's market before guards ran him from town. Really, it wasn't fair. Reselling wasn't a crime, per se. Speaking of wine, Felix made another detour to grab his satchel, stashed in an alcove. Salernum's guards may have taken his earnings, but he still had 1 bottle left, and he intended to cash in on it. Then he dashed for the city wall. A giddy, hushed laugh bubbled in his chest, a burgeoning high from the thrill of the game. Damn, he was good at this. Right then, bare feet flying over stone in a backwater city he never had to see again, Felix had no past. He had no future. He had that moment. It was exactly enough. But all the luck Felix's name promised him ran out at the gate. Like he'd read Felix's mind, a bulky man waited under the archway leading out of Pompeii, a scarlet cape dripping from his shoulders. Not a city guard. The officer Felix had drunk with wore muted brown. This was some patrician's private guard, the type desperate to do their master's dirty work, even when it broke the law. Hoping against hope the guard hadn't seen him, Felix turned and picked a different path. Time for a new plan. He was good at that, shifting strategies as easily as slipping coins from a pocket. If he ever took an apprentice, perish the thought, children made him uncomfortable, Felix would teach the core rules the way his dad had taught him. Rule 1, of course, was, don't love anything you can't stand to lose. Rule 2, know when to quit the chase. Felix wouldn't make it out of Pompeii this morning. But he could stash the helmet for now, reclaim it when a sword-wielding guard wasn't dogging his heels. A trio of crates sat tucked down an alley. He pried the lid off one and found it full of milled grain. But when he settled the helmet inside, he hesitated. Grain spilled between the twin metal wings, framing a sharp noseplate and hollow eyes. An uncanny sensation of recognition washed over him. Like those eyes had stared him down before. But he couldn't place where, when. Felix shook the feeling off and focused on his real connection to the helmet, what it could buy. His hands had never held value like this. The helmet was his ticket to the next 10 towns, and that meant staying alive another few months. It meant bread in his belly that he bought instead of snuck, or a bed of his own where he didn't feel the discomfort of another's body so near. Watching wheat swallowing silver swooped his stomach the same way dropping from a height did. If only his father could see Felix now, mourning what he'd only held for just a moment. "I'll be back," Felix swore. The helmet, buried in grain, offered no reply. Replacing the cover and brushing off his hands, he strolled back onto the main road. He only made it 2 blocks before the point of a sword met the nape of his neck. "To your knees." When Felix didn't obey, the guard swiped his blade across the back of Felix's calves, the pain so startling he collapsed. Blood trickled from the twin cuts, sluicing through the dust on his legs in slick, sticky rivers. A half-formed thought crossed his mind that he should crawl away. But he wouldn't make it afoot before the guard's blade found a different place to slice. A large hand wrapped around Felix's throat from behind and tightened.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?